So we're going to work on organizing the thesis sentence for our proposal argument. So I'm going to take my sample thesis here. Everyone seeking a college education should consider attending a community college first in order to get the most reward for the cost, to demonstrate how we're going to do that. So what you're going to need to do is identify those three components, and you may have the three components and not actually have the sentence yet. So you need to have who's doing the action, in this case people seeking a college education, what they're doing, in this case going to a community college, and the reason they should do so. Mine is to get the most reward for the cost. So remember, when you're looking at anything, the last part of whatever it is, so the last part of the sentence, the last part of the paragraph, the last part of the essay, is going to have the most emphasis. So in this case, I have highlighted the last part that is the most emphasized. The second most emphasis is at the beginning. So whatever is at the beginning is emphasized a little bit, but just not as much as the end. And of course, what you have in the middle is going to have the very least emphasis. Consider some examples that you might have in an argument that you're making. So if you say, I believe marijuana should be legalized for all uses, even though it can seriously harm some people's health. The last thing you said is that it can seriously harm some people's health, and that is going to have the most emphasis. And that would really tank your argument. That would make a poor argument. But if you say, even though marijuana can seriously harm some people's health, I believe it should be legalized for all purposes. Now you're emphasizing that it will be legal, that you want it to be legalized, and you're kind of downplaying what's in the middle of the sentence. And that will work with anything that you're arguing, basically. You don't want to highlight the part that you don't want to pay attention to. And that's also why we want to put our thesis sentence at the edge of a paragraph, so it gets attention and it's not just buried in the middle and not looking important. So when I look at our thesis sentence itself, I have three components, and wow, I could write those three components in a bunch of different ways. Those who seek a college education could obtain the most reward for the cost by choosing to attend a community college. To get the most reward for their cost, attending a community college should be considered by all potential students. Some of these are kind of awkward, but you get the picture that we could put these three things in a lot of different orders. So what you guys are going to do is look at your three components. What is the most important one of those components that you want to emphasize the most? What is the second most important one that you want to emphasize the second most? And what is the least important one? When I looked at my sample thesis, I decided that the reason, getting the most reward for the cost, is going to be the most important, because I think it's going to be really compelling for people, and I think that that's going to be something they need to highlight. I think the action itself is the second most important thing, going to a community college. And I decided the group of people who should do that action, while my instructor, aka me, decided that I needed to include that in my thesis, it's almost beside the point, because clearly I'm not going to argue that, you know, everyone in the world, whether you have an education or want an education or don't want an education, should all go to community colleges. I'm specifically talking to people who actually want a college education. So it almost goes beside the point. So I'm going to stick that in the middle because I don't think it's really super important to my argument. So then I'm going to rewrite my thesis, and I'm going to put the reason last, the action first, and who in the middle. So I rewrote my thesis to look like this. Starting at a community college is a good way for those who seek a college education to get the most reward for the cost. Now, when you're ranking yours might be different. You might think that your action is the most important thing and your reason is the second most important. Or maybe your action is the most important thing and who should do it is the second most important. Or maybe who should do it, in your case, is actually the most important thing. Maybe you're selecting a specific group, or it's a novel group. So yours might be a different rank. It's not necessarily going to be, hey, the reason's the most important thing. You get to choose and then rewrite your thesis sentence so that it reflects what is the most important and second most important and least important part of that sentence.